Good evening. My name is Nicole Hicks, and I was selected to be a member of the jury in this case. I have voted in favor of the defendant, Dr. Johann Sebastian. Let me explain how I came to this decision. First, I started with the basics. I decided that Dr. Sebastian is in fact a covered entity like most other physicians in America. As a covered entity, Dr. Sebastian must comply with the privacy rule of HIPAA. Since Dr. Sebastian did not receive authorization from the subjects before he disclosed their PHI, I had to find if there are any exceptions that allow covered entities to share PHI without prior authorization. There are indeed 5 situations that allow a covered entity to bypass direct authorization from the owner of the PHI. We already know that Dr. Sebastian did not receive a waiver from the IRB since the disclosure is not consistent with the documents approved by the IRB. Because there is no waiver, there remain only 2 possible exceptions that may apply to this case. They are when the PHI will be used solely to prepare a research protocol or for other purposes preparatory to research, which can include recruiting for future research. This is what we see in this case. Dr. Sebastian shared the plaintiff's names with another research organization so that they could call them for recruitment. However, the PHI must not be removed from the covered entity, and the PHI must be necessary for research purposes. Disclosing patient names, like what Dr. Sebastian has done, could be deemed necessary in order to recruit for future studies. Second, a covered entity must disclose for research purposes may disclose limited data set of PHI with certain direct identifiers excluded, provided that the covered entity obtains a data use agreement with the investigator that the limited data set will be used or disclosed for limited purposes. Disclosing names for recruiting could be allowable given that it can be proven that Dr. Sebastian and the investigator have a data use agreement, which the defendant has claimed to have. Continuing on. It is important to discuss the newer revisions to the privacy rule that grants researchers, such as the defendant, more freedoms when it comes to retaining and using subjects' PHI for future use. Under the federal policy for the protection of human subjects, otherwise known as the Common Rule, it is permissible for a research subject to consent for future research without specifying the type of research. This is in contrast to the privacy rule that requires authorization for each requested use or disclosure. This new revision does state that the authorization must adequately describe such purposes so that it would be reasonable for the individual to expect that his or her protected health information could be used or disclosed for future research. Given that Dr. Sebastian had provided clear, informed consent to the subjects, detailing that their information could be disclosed for future research, then we would have to find him not guilty. I, however, find it difficult to believe this, since the plaintiff seemed to be unaware of this exception. I believe Dr. Sebastian failed to give the subjects a proper explanation of what could happen to their PHI after it had been given to him. In closing, I find Dr. Johann Sebastian's actions less than ideal. It appears that in the future he may need to be clear when discussing the operations with the subjects and receiving informed consent. He may also want to consider seeking a waiver from the IRB, but he did not break the privacy rule. Exceptions exist to help researchers as they work towards the betterment of the community and the healthcare system. Being able to share information between different organizations is an integral part of research. Done properly, it aids the researchers in their quest for knowledge and innovations in healthcare, but it must also be remembered that subjects are not just names on a paper. They cannot be used as a means to end, but as a means in and of themselves. I would hope that Dr. Sebastian takes the time to fully explain the process to future subjects to assist them in giving a more informed consent and to avoid expensive and time-consuming court cases moving forward. Thank you.